Hey guys, it's Shah here, the Tech Borg, and today's video we're going to be doing a challenge video in Python as usual. So yeah, let's get on with it. Well, today's video we'll be looking at Python program to print all the integers that aren't divisible by either 2 or 3 and lie between 1 and 50. So this is your challenge, should you choose to accept it. So I suggest you pause the video and try and make the program yourself, or at least write a pseudocode. So I'll give you a quick hint before you decide to pause or just do it. I think you should, I can give you a highlight. You should try and use some kind of remainders, because you know that when you divide any number by 2, as in a number that's divisible by 3, if you divide it by 3, then you get a remainder of 0. I think that should help you out, and so now I think you should really pause the video and give it a go. If not, in 5 seconds I will give you the solution. And alright guys, I'm back. I hope you paused the video, I hope you gave it a go, and I will be showing you how to do the solution, and we'll be doing a step-by-step solution. So first of all, we have to think of the appropriate method. So think about it, we have to loop through 50 numbers, right? Or 51, 51 numbers. So what would be suitable? Well, we could use a while loop. We could say let I equal 1, okay? Then we can do a while. We can do a while loop, and I don't know, just introduce another variable here. Just say let x equal 0, yeah. And then while x is always equal to 0, we're not going to change that. We want it to keep on doing I divide by 2. So I percentage 2, which means I divide 2 to give you a certain remainder. So if I divides 2 and I divides 2 to make a remainder of 0, equal 0, and I divides 3, and this represents the remainder, as in not divides, but it's just a way of me making it easier. So if I divides 2, the remainder is 0. If I divides 3, then the remainder is 0. So now if I just do that, and then now we want it to print we want to do the ones that aren't divisible, so we have to just change this to an exclamation mark, because it represents not equal to, right? So if we change this to exclamation mark, you go print, and then we type, we just type the value of I, right? Because, well, we want to output the value that isn't divisible. So then we keep going, so then we do I equals I plus 1, because obviously you want it to loop, so as in add 1 every time it goes through the loop. So that's one way you can do it. So I'll run this and show you that it works, but we have to eventually stop at 50. So if I equals 50, we want to increase x by 1, therefore it will break the while loop. This is one way of doing it. There's a short way of doing it, which I will show you, but I thought I'll show you a couple of ways and then let you decide which you might want to use. This way is more like, I guess you can say, simpler to understand, but harder to implement, like just longer in terms of length. So if we save this now, and if I run it, if there's any errors, we can fix them. So as you can see, it's outputted all the values that aren't divisible by 2 or 3. So 1 doesn't divide 2 or 3, 5 doesn't divide 2 or 3, 7, etc. None of these divide 2 or 3. And as you can see, the program's working absolutely brilliantly. So now if you think about it, there has to be another way, right? Well, there is another way. For those of you that are familiar with it or have watched my previous videos, you'll know about the for loop. They should be in my Python videos playlist, so you should give that a go as well if you're kind of new at this. So a for loop would be very good, because what it does is it simply lets us pick a variable and then lets it loop through a given set of values for that variable. So for example, in this case we can say for, and then let's call the variable random variable a, for a in range, and then remember, in the range it doesn't include the upper and lower value, so you'd have to use 0 and 51, so don't forget that, guys. So now we want it to print if, and then in this case we'll be using these same conditions, exactly the same condition, no change whatsoever. That, then we want it to print that, and now if I run this, it should reprint hopefully the same exact list. And as you can see, it will print a, sorry about that, guys. So if I run this now, there you go. As you can see, it's printed. Wait, let me remove this so I know it's working. Just bear with me, guys. So if I run this, okay, as you can see, it's not working because it's printed out all of these. Oh, I see why. Because I decided to put an I here instead of A. Sorry about that, guys. So if I run this now, it should work. There you go, it's working. So these are all the values that aren't divisible by 2 or 3. So if I just Control Z all this, just so I can bring back my previous solution and we can compare the solutions. So as you can see, I've got one solution here. One solution here and one solution here. So as you can see, this solution may have more lines, but it's easier to understand, I guess. Like, your initial thoughts would be something like this, because you'd be thinking of, okay, first I need to make a loop through 1 to 50, so I need to add 1 each time to a certain variable. Let's call it I, so I equals 1, and then we had to add 1 each time. But before we had to add 1 each time, we had to first check whether it's divisible by 3 or not, 3 or 2 or not. So if it's divisible by 2 or 3, it will not output it. So yeah, so if it isn't divisible by 2 or 3, it will output it, as you can see on the right side over here on my screen. And then all we did was we had I add 1 itself to each time, and eventually when I reached 50, which was at the end of the loop, it will add 1 to x, meaning it will break the while loop, and we would just come out of the while loop, straightforward, right? Then in a different scenario, what we've done is we've used the for loop, which is much easier. For loops are much more easier because you can bring in a variable and then have the variable loop through a certain number of values or numbers, as I've said earlier. So now we've used the range 0 to 51 because remember, it doesn't take the upper and lower bounds into account. You have to put one less in the lower and 1 more in the upper, if that makes sense. Then now you want to do if a divides 2. So again, remember, I say divides, but I think it's better to say the remainder of a divide 2. But if a divides 2, the remainder is not equal to 0, and if a divides 3 and the remainder is not equal to 0, then it will print a, which is our value, which is a specific value that this will take from the range, 1 by 1 obviously, which is what for loops are good for. Your for loop basically just does this line for you, so it just adds 1 each time to the a value from this list range. And that's really it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. What I've done here is I've compared two solutions that you could have made for this program type. There's probably more solutions out there, but I think these two are like suitable solutions. This one's probably much more efficient than this one, because in this one we had to introduce an extra variable for x in order to break the while loop. But I think this one works fairly well. As in, it works fairly well, but as in this one's just much better because for loops are made to go through a certain values for a certain variable. So yeah, that's really it, guys. I hope this comparison helps you guys to understand the idea of like efficiency as well as like just making your life easier, because for loops just go through it they just whiz through it basically. So that's really it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you, guys.